Back to the Renegade Dyspraxic channel. This is Alex. Just making a quick video here in the Tesco's car park. In today's video, something I'd like to talk about, which is actually something put a bit close to heart. Actually, I'll just move the camera quickly, make it better lighting. Anyway, something that's a bit close to heart to me, and that's to do with cliques or cliques, I think the proper term for it is. Basically, have you ever been in a situation where you've tried to make friends to people, but for some reason everybody just seems to be giving you the cold shoulder, and that's putting it politely, yet they all happy to socialise and talk amongst each other? It's almost like just because you're not one of them or in their special in crowd, you're supposed to therefore remain permanently an outsider. I know myself, I've experienced this several times in my life, and it's not the most pleasant of experiences, but obviously they've what I'd like to first explain to yourselves is why exactly do cliques form, before going on to say exactly what you can do if you find yourself in a situation where there are a lot of people around you who you'd like to get to know better, but due to perhaps one or two people in the group you feel you're being ostracized from everyone else. Well, the reason basically for why people form cliques is because within each side, all of us, is an innate human desire to connect with other people. This is, a perfectly natural desire. We all have it. We are social animals, as anthropologists would constantly remind us. But the only problem, however, is that some people, whilst they like going out and meeting new people, they seem to get to a point where once they've reached a certain number of people, aka like people they see of value, they seem to think, right, I no longer need to extend my social circle anymore, and they seem to shut down. And likewise, if they can, they try to use whatever in their influence to try and stop the people within their circle from socialising outside of them as well. In many ways, you could say they are kind of very insecure, shallow people who really truly want the people they think worthy of being their friends to be their friends and their friends only, and are not allowed to socialise beyond. Which, of course, most people would disagree with that. Disagree with being told who they can or cannot socialise with. Unfortunately, though, the reason why many followers of leaders in cliques tend to actually still maintain the wishes of the leader is because within all of us, as well as this desire to connect, is a desire for us to seek out a leader, someone who's dominant and who can lead us. If you think about it, the desire to connect and also the desire to seek out a leader or a strong character who can lead the troop or the group of people really goes back to caveman days, when the best chance of our survival was to have a strong leadership within the tribe, and someone who can organise the tribe, organise the group of people, so that everyone would be able to function and survive in the in the jungle or the African savannah, wherever my history isn't fantastic, or I can't recall exactly learning where we originated, but somewhere like that anyway. So anyway, that's why we have cliques, unfortunately. If these shallow people who are very insecure, and as such they need to be within their own little circle of friends, and once they've hit their circle of friends or people they see of value to reflect their own ego, they don't really need or want anybody else. And unfortunately, if you have dyspraxia, then you're not really going to be welcomed into most of these shallow people's circle of friends, because they obviously because we have a way of so we say a unique style often of carrying ourselves. Maybe we're a bit wooden in our approach, or we have a funny way of walking, or we have verbal dyspraxia, general clumsiness, you name it. Basically, unfortunately, I know it's sad, but this is the way of the world. Such people will tend to look down on you and see you of being of a less valuable person to themselves, even though I must add that you yourself, chances are, have far, well, more than just chances, you'd have far more character than these people, just because of the sheer amount of struggle that you've been through, with your dyspraxia. And I'm quite sure if you were left alone with these people to survive, these people who need their little cliques around them would all crumble within very quickly. But unfortunately, as you know, it's for these people safety in numbers. So anyway, coming back to, suppose you're in the workplace and you've got a clique, or in your greater social circle there is a strong clique within the in crowd, as they call it, and the out crowd. What exactly can you do? Well, you basically got two choices as I see it. Your first choice is to literally just let the clique be, or the clique party, let it be. Don't try and fight it or change it. Just look upon them as a sad group of people, and hang around with people who are perhaps in the outer crowd, who often, if you get to meet people in the out crowd, people who are out crowd, people who aren't in the in crowd, basically, you'd often find, as I found in my own experience, they're actually people who are of far more interest and far greater character. So that's one way. However, if it was a situation where you need to work along with these people who are in the in crowd, or for some reason you'd like to get to know people because you think they look interesting who are in the in crowd, however, you've got this annoying little shallow leader of the clique who's kind of organising it and kind of unconsciously creating a subculture of, you don't speak to outsiders without my authority. What can you do then? Well, one option you've got is, apart from just ignoring them, is to apply a strategy which I call peeling away at the clique. And what you're basically doing is, within the clique itself, you'll find that not everyone within the group is going to be as equally faithful or strong to the idea of the group or the leader. Essentially, whilst we all have an innate ability or an innate desire to seek out fellow humans and belong to a group, some of us have it far more so than others. And so what you want to do is put on your observational glasses here, and you want to look for people who are sort of, they are within the obviously the clique, but they will be best described as being on the outer edge, in the sense that purely because they probably deep down see, whether it's perhaps unconsciously, the sad situation of this pathetic leader trying to pull everyone in on together under his umbrella, and they're kind of thinking, what, I'm just myself and I'm just going to do what I want, and if I happen to be within this guy's umbrella, I'm not going to exactly worship him, I'm just going to be on the outer periphery, just get on with my life. Well, these are the types of people who you probably want to approach, and once approached, they'll be easier to talk to and engage with, because hopefully they'll be more open-minded. And once you've basically engaged these people, hopefully by making friends with them, they will be able to, in return, spread good news about you, or positive news about who you are, the real you, out to the rest of the people within the tribe. So essentially, you're getting an ally from within the tribe to sort of act as your spokesman to get you in, and in doing so, hopefully, you will actually open the door as more people within the clique will begin to accept you as who you are. Unfortunately, in the process of doing this, two things are going to happen probably. Again, one is what hopefully happen, I hope, is that the clique will accept you, and that will be that, and the rest is history. Unfortunately, though, what might often happen is the leader of the clique himself, the person who sits right at the centre, is not going to take to this very lightly at all. In fact, it's going to, pardon the French, bloody piss them off that an outsider is working his way into their little group, especially an outsider who they don't perceive as being as any value to them. So expect, unfortunately, a good chance of there being a lot of, well, the polite way to put it would be, a cold shoulder to you from certain members within the clique who are closer to the leader and the leader themselves originally, or at the very worst, expect them to actually do some sort of nasty campaign of hatred against you, essentially bullying. I've also actually, as I say, written a book on adult bullying a while ago, and I will add a link to the book in this description. So if you do happen to apply this strategy and try and dissolve the clique, or dissolve as to get into the clique, and find that you're essentially now being bullied by some of the inner core members of it, do have a look at this book. It's called Beat the Bully by myself, Alex Gadd. So yeah, that's I was saying one option in there for if you're in this scenario anyway, and you're being attacked, is to simply play the moral high ground. By playing the moral high ground simply means just carry on being your charming, decent self, you know, the person you are with character. Ignore or try and rise above or ignore the hate campaign that's been up against you by some of the inner members of the clique. Don't rise to their bait and don't, you know, fight, you know, dirt with dirt, because you will still be fighting in a playing field, or battlefield, which is, you know, heavily written against you. Because when the leader calls within the clique, all his followers are more likely going to fall into line with him, including perhaps a few of those who were meant to be your spokespeople. So that's one strategy, is I'm saying, is play the moral high ground again. Another thing you could do instead, which I would pretty much say is a bit of a risky one, is if you can, in front of the whole group or the whole clique, confront the leader head on. Confront this shallow person who is essentially trying to keep you as an outsider. And by confront, actually, when I say confront, obviously I'm not talking aggression here, I'm talking calmly, but approach them calmly and say in front of everyone, you know, essentially, what is your problem with me? What is your beef? And not only get them to say what their beef is, but also to say why they have a beef with you, what their problem, why they have a problem with you. And of course, if it's within the working culture, if this person who you're approaching happens to point to say, oh, it's because you're odd or you've got dyspraxia, then obviously they've fallen themselves onto a ground for discrimination. But chances are they're not probably going to say that. If you're all, as you know, civilized adults, the chances are you're just going to have the person deny, oh, there isn't a problem, but then, you know, carry on, you know, perhaps trying to backstab you, you know, or to chase you out. The beauty, however, though, is that if this does work all the way, but I'll tell you in a bit why I still call this as a last strategy approach. The reason why it does work is because even if the clique leader actually says, oh, I haven't got a problem with you, it's all in your imagination, then not only is he unofficially, you know, kind of saying, oh, you know, you're just being oversensitive, but he is openly stating to all the followers from this group that I'm not actually doing anything bad. Hence, if later he then, or she, I can't be discriminate against the genders, because it happens just as much with men as women. But anyway, if she or he then later tries to come back and say, you know, get some of the followers to start spreading gossip around about you, they themselves aren't going to look very well or very good, because essentially they are being two-faced, and it'll come across to other people that their leader is two-faced. And if you happen at the same time to be maintaining your moral dignity, the chances are that, well, it's a small chance, but the chances are that you might actually find yourself very quickly gaining a leadership role within this clique as well. And much to the annoyance of the original, you know, shallow clique founder, these people are now turning to you and, you know, looking for you, because you're the one who is more morally I suppose the word morally backboned would be a good terminology. But anyway, I would just like to, before concluding, saying that I would say that this last strategy, which I've called, especially carrying out all the way, of the peeling the clique apart, I wouldn't really use that myself unless it was literally a do or die situation where you've got nothing left to lose if you do walk away and it all goes wrong for you. But personally, I wouldn't really do that, because if you do that, the chances are you're going to find yourself essentially being ousted from the group, and because you've effectively attacked openly their leader, and it's going to get a lot harder to possibly get back into the inner circle again. Perhaps even your opportunity to get back into the in crowd is permanently shut off to you, and you might have to find other options, such as, if it's all within the work environment, unfortunately, applying for work elsewhere. But anyway, this is just a brief video about what you can, exactly how you can confront cliques and what to do about them. Unfortunately, I feel it's worth mentioning this particular channel, the Renegade Dyspraxic, about cliques, because let's be honest, but because of our dyspraxia, and you can probably tell the way I speak myself with my slight verbal dyspraxia, we're going to come across as noticed more often, and people who are shallow are essentially going to, well, I dare not want to say, but pick on us, or at the very least exclude us, because they don't think we can bring anything to the table. Yes, I know it's narcissistic, and it is, well, it's bloody unfair, but who, I could sit here and say the world is, full of candy and roses, or could give you the reality of how things are. Anyway, don't forget, if you do please subscribe to this channel, because I'll be producing more videos in the not too distant future. And of course, if you like any ideas or any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll perhaps even do a video on one of your questions. And look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in the next videos. All the best. Bye bye.